years ago. Uh, so it's
So you're
nice.
still in Bay Area, right?
I am, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think like I came back in 2022. So and then I think you moved there after, right?
Yes, I think
Okay.
exactly. Probably had like few days overlap.
All
Yeah,
right. Whereabouts in Bay Area are you?
I'm in Mountain View area now.
Ah, okay.
I
Yeah,
do.
I was living there actually, just close to
So where were you put up here?
um in like that the main like Mountain View. There's one street there close to downtown. Like
Got it.
there is a Persian kind of like store there as well in that intersection. Well, what was the name of it? Name of a street? Castle Street, something like that.
Castro Street.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I
Oh,
was
nice,
actually just like 5 minutes away from there.
nice, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like Amazon office used to be like I was initially working in the office in East Palo Alto, and then moved the office to the one in what was it the one in Santa Clara.
yeah, the big
Yeah,
one.
yeah, and then there is like we have a big team there, and then I moved back to Australia. Any plan to come back or?
I mean, eventually, yes, at some point.
Okay.
But with all kids' school and stuff, it just complicates the whole plan.
Mm, yeah,
But yes, if that way, right now with all this agent stuff, it's like
yeah.
very refreshing. Like you can literally, I was literally thinking this morning we should build an app that measures the word count of how many people use AI agents and AI in your conversations. Walking in the train, billboards and everything.
Yes,
It's
man.
it's no,
It's
you should
it's
you should come for a visit at least. We should hang out.
exactly. So the thing is, I was planning to actually just come, like we have this reinvent coming, and but it's still not finalized. But yeah, let's see. Because I
Yeah,
usually because I have a lot of friends there in Bay Area, so whenever I was coming to US, I was actually going through the San Francisco, so staying a couple of days and then go to other
nice.
cities like Seattle or like the Las Vegas, which is the place for reInvent every
Yeah.
year. Any plan to go there in any of these big conferences?
I don't know because it's like I'm kind of new with Arcade at this point. I need
Okay,
to be. I mean, in startup these things happen in the last minute, so I might get pulled in. But if you're going to be in town, let me know.
sure.
Should Yeah, we should
Okay,
definitely come.
awesome. So yeah, like let's kick off the
Yep.
and discuss about the topic. So I would suggest like the topic. I think you're mainly going to focus on the toolings for the AI agents, right? And
Yes.
then
Yep.
okay, so and then what I would suggest maybe like you start with like a quick introduction of
Yep.
yourself, and then we can take it from there.
Nice. Yeah, I do have like few slides, but I'm gonna skip. Go through very fast. But I just want to show like a quick demo. I think that's probably what the
Yeah,
audience will.
exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
let's do it.
Nice.
All right. Okay. So hello everyone. So just some informal conversation, but thanks for joining for another session for AI Wisdom. So today we have Guru, one of my old friends, who is going to talk about deterministic or not, and tools where agent breaks. So Guru, over to you, so that you can start with your intro, and then we can go to the topic.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Sam. It's great to be here. After many years. 7 years ago, I think when we thought Kafka was the bleeding edge and the most innovative technology at the time,
True. Big data
and
time.
big data time, and what we have today with AI is like mind blowing transformation. And just introduce myself. I'm Guru. I'm a solution architect here at Arcade. .dev, where we do agent tool management and whatnot. Before this, I was into streaming space with companies like Confluent and Startree, and at Deloitte, did a bunch of stream processing and real-time platforms. Now focused more on AI agents, particularly helping folks to take AI agents to production. That's been my focus the past few months.
Okay. So what's like before like maybe starting with what's actually like your key focus now? Is it like the platform that you're building there, or is it more like a kind of library? What sort of I would say solution that you're building?
The interesting thing is I've been pretty much I talk to all sort of organizations who are trying to take who are getting serious about building AI agents and offering it to their customers, using it internally, all at production scale. I basically get into those conversations, help them, complete the solution by bringing all of the things together. Mm-hmm. Arcade in particular, we are basically building like a tool management platform. We call it an MCP runtime.
Yeah.
The folks are like seriously involved even with the protocol evolution. Our folks commit to the MCP changes as well at the protocol level. But what I do focus on is little higher level with agents. I kind of I see like two group of people, right? In a way, in fact I have like I kind of add some of these slides. If you want, I can share it now and we can go through it, or we can.
Yeah. Let's because what I'm trying to understand is it like, and so it's a component of the MCP or another version of the MCP. What you can think of?
Yes. So end of the day, everything as an industry as well is standardizing on MCP protocol. Be it Arcade or anyone who is into agent tooling. We have an enhanced version of it, but still it is compliant with the standards of MCP protocol. There is nothing new to the protocol itself. The spec is the same. We're aligning to the standard spec. We are also heavily standardizing on that. But we do make the adoption a lot easier. So, for example, what I focus on in particular is how do we, building MCP is pretty easy. In my past life, I built an MCP, and then at some point, how do we ship it? And then all we did was we shipped the MCP server in a GitHub repository, and then we told the customer to, package it, deploy it, and all that. And I actually saw a really good meme where it said, there is this comparison of the number of agent, the MCP builders. It's like some thousands of them. Yeah. And then people who actually host MCP and take it to production is like very few.
Okay. So similar pattern to any of these AI types of projects.
Yes. Yeah, actually, that's well said. So that's the part Arcade, at least myself, focused on simplifying, like, how can we convert all these folks who are like actually coming up with some amazing ideas. There are some really good MCP servers and whatnot. But how can we simplify the second part that is getting serious, that is package it, deploy it, and most importantly, getting security approval within your company so that you can actually use it in production. So that's the part I think it's worth spending time right now because I'm not just talking about Arcade, even for anyone, is figuring out the processes and tools so that you can I mean that's going to be the whole topic. Is the more and more I think about it, right? The popular conversation that you see in the internet about agents is one thing. But then when I joined the company, when I started talking to companies who are going live, the conversations are very, very different. They are not even debating determinism and whatnot. The questions that come through are like heavily focused on MCP. Hey, how can I use this? How can I use this along with my API gateway? How can I productionize this? It's a very different kind of conversation. So that's what I thought, maybe this is a good forum to talk about, so that, we can help some of the folks to, go live.
Okay. No. That's actually like the topic, as you can see. And actually, I'm just working on So like we used to we started, I would say, big data types of project together. I think we did the first one in Australia, like the one that we did like that time in 2000.
You're right. I think so. I
Yeah,
think
that was like the first one within Australia. And then, like all these patterns that we have for all these big data tools like Kafka,
yeah,
like Hadoop ecosystem, any of those, we have like these kind of like MPP
yeah,
across those. So I'm actually just I'm planning to maybe release it like maybe in one or two. I'm working on a solution named Map, which is more around like multi-agent parallel processing,
yeah,
which is how you can leverage multi-agent plus that parallel processing capability to solve the solution that they need. Like a good example is the like doing like a proper big data processing capability, right? We used to write like a Spark, Hive jobs to just take the data, do like a kind of Parquet, and then do the join, and then do all those big data things, right?
yeah,
So like the use case that I was actually just building is to just take the request. Oh, I wanted to just process this amount of data, and then it actually just like provision all those agents, like a Spark agent, a Hive agent, and then in a Kubernetes types of cluster, it actually just do all those parallel processing, and then it actually identify what needs to be done, like whether I need like a Hive agent to just generate the Parquet out of my CSV, and then after that, I need another Spark one to join the table. So all those things, so that like needs, I would say, sometimes all those pipeline to be built, we try to just make it no code, and then it actually just the agent, all those agents decide to what to do.
Actually, if you think about it, right, I think what you're just explaining, it feels like, if you remember our first project, we developed this massive stream sets pipeline,
Yeah,
ETL stuff.
true.
Pretty much the agent that you're explaining is replacing that orchestration.
The orchestration part, exactly. And then all of those pipeline also will be another agent, right? So there will be
Yes.
like orchestrator, and then so the like some of those use cases like this big data processing plus the like especially the scientific research also like solve a specific problem. These are like the things that initially like you don't have like idea what need to be actually just used, especially the ones that have no knowledge about those, right? Like let's say they need to like a kind of process a massive data sets, and they have no idea like what. So that's actually just do the orchestration, define all those different capability that is needed, and then work together to just like build all those kind of like whether it's like a, as an example, if I want to write a Spark job, so to write that Spark jobs, build that Spark agent, do all those processing, and then solve the problem. And then I think that's another avenue to just, because like these days a lot of are just using more like a kind of enterprise business use cases that the agent to do like very specific task. But I think another level of a scale that we need is to just use multi-agent part to solve the problems which need a lot of, I would say, collaboration plus a lot of different input from different types of agents. And that's the kind of like trying to, and I was just trying to just mix and match, like from Go to use the parallel processing capability, then Python for some of those agents. So different types of, I would say, scheduler, like the worker and all those different components. So I think like in 1 or 2 weeks, we'll just, but that's also, I think, some things that I notice there are, to be honest, so many use cases for those, and which I didn't see like a kind of like open source types of solution for that. And that was the reason, the idea that I started. But anyway, so do you want to like start with the slides, and then we can take it from there?
Yeah, I have some quick slides.
Awesome.
I think the topic is really all about exactly the continuation of what we have been discussing. Is there is this big trend of agents, agent development patterns, architecture, and all of those are brewing. But when I joined Arcade, when I started talking to people who are like going live with agents, there are a few things I noticed where it's worth calling out. I think that's really is a summary of this presentation, and even beyond. It's talking with Arcade, and I met a few folks from LangChain here in the community, and some of the other agent developers. So I kind of saw some useful patterns I thought I'll quickly share. And then after this, there is a demo. We can really see a couple of agents in action that actually that where you can actually use it in some real world scenarios. We'll go through that. Um, so I think I think this is this is more for the speculators really. I think I'm sure Armand, you know the geography. Previous job I was working from Mountain View, which is
Yeah.
little south of the Bay Area, and
Okay.
then when I climbed up, went for a meetup in the SF city. I felt like just within 20 miles, the difference about the understanding of agents is like very vastly different.
Okay.
Um, if you kind of go down, you'll see more speculation about AI agents being real, the patterns and whatnot. You'll see people, literally scolding MCP saying, "Hey, we already have like API, REST API and stuff. Why are you reinventing this?" And then you go up northwards, you see a completely different picture, where, hey, we are running AI in production. How can you help me, deploy this MCP server? There is not even room to discuss anything about a speculation of AI or agents or anything like that. They're already like gone crazy with deployments, and so I just want to say that not just simple agents, some real agents that can act are already in production. That's a big news. I just wanted to
Mhm.
share.
Sure.
And I think there are two type of groups I'm seeing. I think now we are getting into um, the people who are like getting started, or people have a lot of these questions. I see like two patterns there. One is teams who are like starting to analyze a lot. Obviously there's a lot of noise in the market, and there's a lot of thought leadership and knowledge being shared. So there's a lot of things to decide on. People thinking through determinism. The moment you say agents, they're all rushing into picking an agent framework. Now I have agent, I need to think about memory, multi-agent, RAG, compliance risk and all that. But having said that, all of those are really important. When you are really stepping up in the ladder of agent maturity, all of these are needs to be sorted out. But then for a start, unfortunately, this itself consumes a lot of time. And then there is other group of people who are like, okay, there is all of this happened, but I understand the underlying pattern, but I'm not going to adopt any of the stuff that already being solved. So they're like, oh, it's only simple API calls to LLMs and APIs. I can do it myself. I have cursor. It can generate code fast. There's a lot of there's other group as well, like trying to plumb things together. And then, I mean, this is something I did myself. Is in that path, eventually you end up creating your own agentic framework yourself. At some point.
Yeah.
So then what's happening with these two groups is the first group end up spending a lot of time without building anything, but still stuck in the POC phase. And then there is like other group, they end up creating a lot of tech debts because they're pretty much creating and everything on the own. But the good news is though, it is still gonna give you a lot of lessons. These are all like good exercise to go through. But if you want, but the reality of the enterprises is they just want to develop like one single agent, a simple agent that does a lot of stuff. And for that, I don't think this is the path to move forward. So that's where I thought I'll share some thoughts on how other companies who are like real about going to production, how they are solving it, so that it will be useful for others, so that it's kind of like a competitive advantage, right? If you're going to waste another 6 months sitting on this process, whereas your competitors are already deploying agents to production. So on that note, and then both teams, and finally, this is another bigger roadblock is whether whichever path you take, both team end up in this particular point. That is the security team coming in and say they throw a bunch of other blockers. Hey, how are you managing token refresh? How are you managing secrets? It's all fine. You developed everything using cursor and whatnot, but do we even have a skill in the company? If something goes wrong, can you jump into production and fix it? So all these lot of different roadblocks are coming in for companies, and then Having said all this, um, for me, the way I look at all these things, the real problem is not any of them. I think the real problem is, agent developers, especially applied AI engineers, or folks who are like really serious about building agents. They're unfortunately being forced into, spending time in wrong places. I think that's my take. I call it misallocated time. So the way to put that simply is, if you take an agent today, or if you go to Google and search for, anatomy of an agent or an agent architecture, you'll see a lot of these terminology coming up. And I mean, they're all the right areas to look into. Eventually, you'll have to solve for all of this. But for a starter, agent developer who's like getting started, these are too many things to take care of. There's so many, concerns. And unfortunately, a person who needs to be thinking about, the brain of the agent, who needs to be thinking about reasoning, orchestration, planning, and all of those things, they're spending way, their energy in way more other areas, beyond that. Um, I think the reason why that is because there is this, underrated area in agents, the tooling area, which I feel is the area to simplify, which in my opinion, will even though it looks like a small single box, what's happening is you start to think about building an agent for deep research, for example, and you think, hey, I want to now do some Google search, so you go and search for SERP API, integrate that to your agent, and then slowly you realize you need to call another API for the agent, and then slowly you will get absorbed into building that integration itself, making all this concurrency, different API calls, dealing with the scope, the security, secret management, and all of that. If you really think about it, that is not the area where you should be really spending time, because I'm sure Sam, the spending a lot of time on AI. I'm sure you do this day in and day out. Is if you get into the actual reasoning part of the agent, that itself is a really time-consuming process.
True. True.
And
even the thing is, it's not the, I would say, like even like the AI model, the reasoning part of it also, because there is not much explainability that we have there. It's like, as a developer, especially, you will be sometimes very confused where it actually needs to just call, because like we don't have a proper process in place, and that's kind of like make it, as you said, like to put a lot of time to understand what's actually happening by that agent.
Yes. Yep, exactly. And like you said, the process or the patterns. I was running into somebody yesterday, and he said, "Hey, I'm building a deep research agent. Can you help me, review the orchestration?" Then I asked him, "Hey, how many nodes you have in the agent?" And he said, "Hey, I have like 20 nodes, and starting with the initial node that fans out to like 5 different nodes." And the more I started thinking about it, it doesn't seem like you can just give like a job description in a document about what that agent needs to do.
Yeah,
it's a lot more than that. That orchestration design is very, very time consuming. So considering all that, my proposal, the way I think folks should be solving this is something like this. And this is what I'm seeing with organizations who are, I talk to day in and day out, they're also doing is they're completely separating the tool management layer into a separate problem. And they are focusing on the agent core separately. So these two are critical for you to go live, but I feel they can be dealt with in a different fashion, in parallelly, so that you kind of build the competency of focusing on, like you said, the agent process, the patterns, the thinking, algorithm, within the agent implementation. You can focus heavily on that. On parallelly, you focus on tools. That is, how do I integrate it? How do I run the tool? How do I configure rate limiting? How do I host the tool? How do I do token refresh? How do I do manage the drivers, for my database, and the tool, for example, and all of that. To simply put, if you're developing an agent, the agent core is the brain. Everything else is just infrastructure problem.
Okay.
So what that means really in reality is, when it comes to tools, again, one of the problem in tools itself is there is again a lot of different approaches happening there. People, myself included, when I started, I didn't really take MCP seriously. I thought it's coming from a vendor. I also come from an integration API background. I thought,
Yeah.
okay, it's too early to settle down on MCP. But then today, even though it's early stage, it is becoming the industry standard. And I would, one of the this is probably the biggest recommendation of all is, if you're building an agent, don't implement any tool logic or tool integration within your agent implementation. Don't do any direct API calls. I know it's easy with with Cursor and Cloud Code, you can do it, but it will bite you long term as you scale. Um, and don't recreate MCP protocol yourself. That's something that's happening as well. Is because the community is getting stronger. I can see Arcade, some of the engineers, they're already deeply involved in some protocol discussions. I can see a lot of discussions happening in the MCP protocol GitHub repository. You can take a look as well. I think it's heavily simplifying the tool calling for agents. So I would just say, forget everything else. When it comes to tools, just focus on MCP. So I guess I saw one of your previous presentation as
Yeah,
well.
with Amit, actually, there was principal essay actually based in I think it was based in Washington, and based in DC. So that we had a chat about he's also kind of like similar. He had also similar thought process, and his focus more was on the MCP gateway. But I think I think the top one is MCP, and then A2A, and one or two more. But I think MCP is actually just getting momentum and become this industry standards for all these, and it's more like a kind of gateway, right? For like we used to talk about API gateway, and then now it's just more like agent gateway for, and that's I think the analogy that always I use to understand MCP, to be honest, especially whenever I see like a kind of like in API gateway, as like we had rate limit, all those things, how to do it with MCP and how to implement it with MCP. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And so with that in mind, the way to simply start, this is applicable for anyone. If you're starting like a new team in an organization, who wants to build an agent, or if you're someone who's trying to switch to a new career in AI space, building agents, I would say just take a simple agent, one agent, focus on a specific problem. It could be, a customer support agent who's going to deliver contracts to the customer, or who's going to give you a simple status update about a ticket, to the customer, for example. Take a specific niche problem like that, and focus on building it to an extent where you will actually take it to production. And because once you do that, take that first step, then the fine tuning will take place. You will then realize, I didn't add this guardrail. I can change the orchestration of the agent in a different way. In a way, you will pretty much start to rewire the agent, aligning with your brain, how you think. So I feel that's where the fun is. And then you will, once you kind of fine tune that and make the agent real, then you will realize that you are not having sufficient agents. This is one of the views of I just took a screenshot from one of the real agents in use. Is this is a simple customer support agent. As you can see, that alone has like 71 tools, across Gmail, Calendar, HubSpot, and Zendesk. It's a very simple agent. But the good news is, there is now a way to kind of separate the concern. You can build like a gateway Again, this is one pattern. I just took a screenshot from Arcade. You can do this yourself as well. But the key point being separate the agent core, from the tool management, basically.
And I think it's actually just, like even like look at the classic software engineering. We started with all these monolithic types of development, and slowly did notice that we need more modularity in terms of like the component that work together. And I think we will see similar pattern, and like kind of like this aspect. The tool management is one aspect, to just try to make it more modular, and then separate those things that can help to better control and also manage them and develop as we move forward.
Actually, that's a great comparison. I think maybe the next 12 months or so, probably the industry is going to go through that phase where we have this huge agent with everything in one package. Now just unpack that, make it really lean, so that folks can just focus on the orchestration of the agent. Everything else is pushed down to the individual boxes like tool management, and whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, with that, a few final notes. I think when you separate the agent core and tool management, this is another thing I'm seeing in the field, talking to a lot of companies, is that many folks are actually talking and investing time in solidifying tool management even before they are implementing agents. I feel, and that seemed to be working really fine. So what that means is you start to think about tool management, the runtime you want to use. For example, Arcade, we call it MCP runtime, where you can actually host MCP servers. In fact, in the industry, I don't think there is any MCP focused runtime today, and we are the first ones to shepherd that. And the point being, you pick a runtime, tool management strategy, the number of tools that you want, and for your agent and everything. You can completely do all of those tasks in parallel without confusing the agent development. Agent developers can assume with some abstraction that, okay, these are all the tools I'm going to have by the time I'm ready with my agentic workflow or the orchestration, so that you can run these things parallel, get the security clearance and whatnot for the tools, and then so that you will be pretty much be ready as soon as the agent developers are getting real about the agents, basically. And then I just want to stop here, enough of slides, and just being in 2025 November, I just thought I'll just show what is actually possible today with a real agent that you can build. For me, agent means not just generating text. I think that's been my primary focus these days. With some of the friends I have here in SF, is how can you just move from the point of agents developing text or generating text. We started with LLMs. It was all a Q&A, and then we add this thinking models and reasoning models and whatnot. You can do some really good deep research, but then it still stops there. It still only generate text. Now, how we can move forward to your example as well, like running a Spark job somewhere, or building like a complex ETL workflow. So with that in mind, I just want to quickly show what is possible. But Sam, if you have any questions, we can.
No, I think yeah. Let's do the demo. I have a number of questions, I would say, but then let's do it after the demo.
Yeah. So one of the this is the the platform that I'm going to use for the demo today. Anyone can sign it up for free. The free tier itself comes with a really decent quota that you can sign up for from arcade.dev. This is the dashboard. So basically what this lets you do is a couple of things. By the way, there is also like a public agent that's available, where you can basically, it's called as chat.arcade. You can, we will not use this today. I just want to show something custom, something outside of Arcade, so that anyone can play with it. But you can browse through tools, and within each tool you'll see like the specific tools and permissions nailed out. And This is again aligned with the MCP protocol. You can think of this as like a Gmail server and Gmail MCP server, and these are all the number of tools within available within the server, basically.
Okay.
So what we will do is here there is this concept of servers. There are, like, as you can see here, there are some 6,000 plus tools here to leverage. We'll use some of the tools today. And if you go to servers, all of these are like available here. You can also, there is something called as Arcade MCP framework. You can use the standard Anthropic MCP framework as well and convert it, into this to add authorization and whatnot. And you can deploy it here as a runtime. So your custom MCP server, let's say you develop one for Snowflake or Databricks, you can kind of club all of that together here in a single list of gateway and single list of servers, MCP servers, and expose it via gateway, for example. Or you can even do things like, this is one of my favorite. If you have like a remote MCP already, you can link that as well here. So, for example, Linear as a MCP server, and you just grab the remote MCP URL, you just provide it here, and then let's say remote linear, you just say create server. The server is created, and then it just takes you through that authorization flow automatically.
Yeah.
So, and then once you approve this, authorization is successful, the session goes back to the product and your server is already ready. Now you can use this remote MCP as well as part of your gateway and expose it to your agents, basically.
Okay.
So now what I will do is I'll create a really simple, gateway. Actually here, you can create like numerous gateways here. You can have like a sales gateway, customer support gateway, for each, let's say, for example, CXO executive gateway, for example. And then you can go in and select the tools that you want. For this particular example today, let's choose Gmail. Let's choose, Google Calendar. Let's choose HubSpot. I have like a simple sales demo. Mm-hmm. You can also go in to each of these tools and say, hey, I don't want this agent to delete emails or trash emails. You can uncheck those tools and then just say use those tools and say create MCP gateway. That basically creates an MCP URL for you out of the box. You just copy that, and you can now go to any MCP client of your choice. I'm just going to use Cursor in this case. You can use this with Cloud Code or your own custom agent, as long as it's compliant with the MCP protocol. You can think of this as an MCP client. Let me go to Cursor settings, tools and MCP. Here I have this MCP server configuration. I'm just going to update that with the new URL we just created. And then I'm just going to just so that I have an active key. I'm going to remove this later, but I'll create a new key and then provide that here. Obviously, in production, you don't have to configure like this. You can do like OAuth and SSO and whatnot.
Yeah.
So now I saved this. I'm just going to restart this setting. It says 63 tools enabled. And you can see that if you go into the gateway and the CXO, we have the same 63 tools here you have.
Yeah.
Now, what I will do is I have like a simple demo scenario here. Think of this as, this happens quite a lot in a lot of these companies who do B2B sales. Is you're like a salesperson, he goes to meet a customer in a cafe, for example, and then the conversation goes well. He takes a lot of notes. He can even take notes by recording the conversation, and then he comes back to office and he opens up Spot or Salesforce and whatnot. And then he enters all the information about that conversation and says, hey, this seems to be a deal with a company called Orange Corp, and the customer is Guru. And this could potentially be $65,000 deal. And he adds a bunch of notes. And he also sends an email to the customer who just met, say, hey, thank you for meeting with me today. and he sends a summary about that conversation. Now, if you think about this in real world, he needs to first scrape the information from calendar, extract my email ID and the context, record the notes, come to office, open the laptop. You open like 5 different screens, create a contact in HubSpot, create a company in HubSpot, and then add notes. And also, he should not forget anything that he spoke. He needs to remember all of that.
Yeah.
And then send an email out to the users. It's like, this is what we did like, 2 years ago.
Exactly.
Without LLMs. But now you can literally solve this just by running a single prompt like this. I'm just going to copy, this single prompt. I also have like a demo account. This is my calendar with about that meeting.
Yeah.
I have my email address here. The company, Orange Corp, Guru, a product manager from this company, and whatnot. And basically, I also have like a HubSpot deal board. I don't have any deals right now; it's empty. I also have like a demo inbox where there are no emails at this point. So now let me go to Cursor and let me just send this prompt to the agent. Now let's see what happens. The agent is like thinking through what is needed, and obviously I said grab the information from calendar, so it's it is picking up the right tool, that is the calendar list event, a tool from the MCP server. This is one of the discovery features that the Arcade Gateway provides. From the list of available tools, it picked up this is the right tool. But it is also realizing that, hey, I don't have account authorization to this to this calendar.
Yeah.
So immediately it created, this is what we call it as just-in-time authorization. It formulated that authorization URL for my account based on the context it had. Obviously, I'm using Cursor. It's very developer-centric. You can build like a much better agent, which has like an hyperlink and a nicely formatted text and all that.
Specialized one, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just going to copy this URL and I'm just going to hit it here. And I'm just going to select this account and continue. As you can see, it already figured out all the scopes and permissions I need to perform this particular action, and send email, view email, and whatnot. And it has already formulated, taking me through that authorization workflow with Google. And I'm just saying continue, and the authorization is successful. Good. Now, likewise, it did that for calendar. I'm going to do the same for Gmail, same account, continue, the same. And then I can say done. Can you proceed? Now it is running the tool to list the calendar event, and Arcade exposes like specific parameters required for the tool. So it figures out, and then now the agent realized it also needs access to HubSpot to create deals and whatnot. So that's another authorization. I'm going to copy that URL, go here, and it is taking me now to the OAuth authorization flow of HubSpot. Choose the account, authorization successful, and I can say, done. Carry on. Now it is trying to gather information from the calendar, and it has figured out. Obviously, you'll see some useless calls, but the agent is still focused on the goal. Still doing the right. This is a classic example of a non-deterministic flow. And as you can see, it basically figured out all the details about me. Saying that okay, one second. Let's see what happened. So if you see here, it figured out my email address.
Yeah.
let's see, where is the information about? Okay, it is still not able to get the actual invite. Let's give a little more metadata. So I'm just going to say that you can find his details in event in Google Calendar, which happened today, November 12th. Now let's see what happens. It's probably doing some time zone thing here. Okay, it found the invite now. As you can see, it figured that the name, my email, the company name and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now it will basically try to create a contact in HubSpot. And it says that the contact already exists because I ran this demo before. So that's another error handling is handling. Now, this is one of the fascinating thing about these agentic workflows. The non-deterministic one is that, in this case, you will have to develop a new pipeline.
Yeah.
And if the contact already, you need to build a workflow for that. But in this case, the agent doesn't care. It failed. Now it is figuring out other paths to move forward.
Yeah.
Now it is creating a deal, and it is also linking the deal, which I didn't say anything about in the prompt. It is linking the deal to the contact. It is adding notes and whatnot, and it has basically accomplished the task. Now, let me go to the HubSpot board. Now you can see the deal has appeared. I can click the deal. It has linked my contact and whatnot. It has also added notes saying that that the conversation happened and whatnot. And also, if I go to my sent email and refresh this, it has also sent a thank you note to the customer saying that, hey, it was great meeting you, etc. So as you can see, it is not just a text generation agent. Generally, you go to a chat client. Yeah, it is actually taking action.
Yeah.
Now, as a last part of the demo, I'm going to complicate this scenario a little more and say that now the customer actually went back and tried the product, and he's now happy about the product and want to move forward and purchase it. Now, I want to. That's an happy moment for any salesperson. Now I want to send a contract so that he can sign it, and I want to craft this contract very specific to this customer and the company, and then send an email out. Now, let me copy the prompt. This agent. Before that, one important point is now I'm going to involve a new system here, that is Google Docs, which I actually didn't provide in the gateway. So now I can just go here. This is a classic scenario of an IT person managing all these tools for your agent. What he can do is just go here, tools, and search for Google Docs.
Yeah.
And that adds like 13 more tools. Update the gateway, and this is where when things go wrong, you go and review and govern the number of tools that agents are having access to, and then you update the gateway. And if you come here and you refresh the tool, you'll see that from 63 it is increased to 76. Now let me say that send a contract. So now let's see what happens. So it is extracting the deal metadata from HubSpot by calling the get deal tool, and it found the deal, and it is updating the contract stage. Now let's see what happened here in HubSpot. Let me refresh this. So it moved from appointment scheduled to contract sent, and it is now creating an agreement. It also is adding some note, and it is using the Google Docs agent to create the document from scratch. And if I go to Google Drive and refresh, you can see the contract is now created. And you can see it has added some fine-grained details. It's not like some standard template. It added my name, my company, and whatnot. and then it is now trying to send an email to the user with this particular contract. So now let's go back to my inbox and refresh this. You can see there is like a new email now, and that email has sent saying, hey, glad that you're moving forward, and here is your contract. And it has also linked that the Google Doc it created and send that email to the user. So yeah, so now
Awesome.
You can think of the power of this, right? Like, think of scenarios like many companies, they struggle with, root cause analysis. Support people, they go through different things in, Datadog, they scrape all the information, and then they go through Slack messages for different context, and then summarize everything, and then they share it with the customer. Think of scenarios like that. Like, it's going to be like a lot simplified. And that's my message to agent developers as well, is like, now you're able to do this very basic thing using some very basic agent cursor. Now think of what you can do with your time. Now you can go, pick a framework like LangChain, for example. Really, spend your time on a lot about orchestration, creating nodes and edges and whatnot, and focus your time on building that real beautiful brain that does the agentic work, and offload a lot of these problems to, tool management platforms like this. So that now, the moment you saw this, I mean, this is what happened to me when I saw this demo like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I was like, the conversation should not be determinism or non-determinism. The reason why we are settling for, determinism is because the tool management, is actually consuming so much time, and it is opening up a lot of risk and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's where, my summary is basically this.
Yeah. No, I like it, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically this, is that, instead of debating about agent architecture, determinism and whatnot, if you solve the tool management problem, you will actually basically get rid of determinism conversation. You'll start focusing on building some truly agentic, systems.
Awesome. No, I like it. To be honest, it actually, like sometimes for like a specific topic, there is such a demo or something like this, I would say unique explanation is needed so that you can just understand all those, I would say, pain points. And then I think that was like the slide and also the demo actually just help. And I'm sure like for the audience, it helps to better understand all those area of challenge, especially for the agentic workload. And then how, so the thing is, so even like when we start with the LLM, like especially in the multimodal one, like image creation, video creation, like we started with something that wasn't like doesn't have like a very good quality, but slowly the maturity is there, and now we have like kind of like models like Gemini or like others, like OpenAI version, like cloud version, that actually just do a like very, I would say, good quality in terms of like text generation, image generation, and so on and so forth. And I think that level of stability, I think in the agentic workflow is still, there are like some hiccups still, but I think eventually we will be in that state. So the thing is, like, if you use like analogy, like how we are actually doing any work, like if now that the agents are going to just replace like a lot of works that we are doing, so we usually like, let's say within a company, we have like a person with like, let's say we have a UX designer, we have a like developer, we have an AI engineer, and all with the like unique skill sets, right?
Yes.
So I'm not sure in our case. So your company. So for now, the main focus is on the tool management, right?
Yes.
Is it like any focus on the like the reasoning and orchestration part, or not yet?
So we are, going to be more focused on. So today, because we have like, 6,000 tools.
Yeah.
There will be some, layer that will simplify the tool selection for you.
Exactly.
That,
another on the top that say, okay, a researcher agent need just this, that we already evaluated, that we know these are like the optimal number of tools that if you want to have like a researcher in the internet, as an example, or kind of like what else, like the quality assurance types of agent, whatever, like
Yes.
types of agent. These are like the key types of tools that you already even like I'm not sure, like the benchmark and standardized, and then you have it there. Because I think eventually, like for any of these kind of like, it's a workflow, right? We have like some number of prompts that need to be standardized, and LLMs slowly actually I think are in a position that even like some vague prompt that you provide to them, they can just provide some answer. Like when initially started, there should be like a very specific structure for the prompt so that it can actually provide it a good answer. But now slowly, I think they're actually just fixing. But still, for some of the use cases, I think the structure and the prompt that you provide is very important. And then having a standardization there is one area that can help. Then the tool management I would say piece is another one that makes sure like the agent, like normal people, like if I'm going to be like a good data engineer, I need to know like Python, I need to know like the Spark and all those things, like very specific set of tools that can not, I would say, over engineer myself or the agent, and also at the same time I have the necessary tools. And I think that level of a standardization, I think for the kind of like tool management kind of platform like yours, I think can help to open a lot of doors and enable like more accuracy for the agentic types of workflow.
It's actually a pretty good summary. I think if you see, there are these optimizations like, agent frameworks becoming, a lot more simpler and more focused on the agentic workflows. Tool management really simplifying the tool selection and whatnot. That's what we are focused on. But we are going to be staying very agnostic to models and agents. So you can use this with any framework of your choice, any models of your choice. But I think the long term, I think one of the key takeaway from you is how do you reduce cost and optimize? Like, reduce the number of tokens, simplify the calls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because then when you have like such a, I think like it's like I would say even like if YouTube, because for any of these agentic AI types of solution, I always use that analogy of how we are actually doing the things, like as a natural intelligence rather than the artificial ones. So we have like agents that currently, like we can name it agent, but then like individuals with like a specific set of skill sets or toolings that they just use and then do the task and the jobs, right? And I think similar analogy, so as like all these agents, so then if within the organization, as you said, like the now IT manager or anyone who is actually managing all these different tool set for the agents, and even like slowly enable more types of I would say skill set for those agents. So it's all like, I think some level of good governance and management is needed there to make sure like that they're actually just doing the right job in an efficient and effective manner.
Yes. I think I completely agree. I think efficiency and optimizations are going to be the focus. As you were explaining it, I think one imagination that came to my mind is like, think of a handyman carrying a hammer in his, how much he can carry. He can only carry 3 or 4. But if you are overloading him with tools, that's where you need to separate him. Maybe give him like a toolbox, like a van with tools, or a robot with tools that takes care of the tools, where he can focus on the problem and solve it. I think
it's at the end of the day, it's just all about the efficiency. So definitely, as you said, like they can have a van to carry all the tools, but whether it worth it or not, or like, and then the second, I would say, so in terms of like the tool management, let's say we have LLMs, we have the tool management for those, and another component, I think that the memory level of memory and also the data that is needed to be provided. Is it like the platform have anything around that as well, or is it just mainly focused on for now on the tool management?
It's focused on the tools, and even on a general note, right? I think that's where this whole context engineering space is like evolving with memory and whatnot. I would say for that, going back to that, the point of start with one agent. I would say even without memory and heavy context engineering, you can just do a lot more with the start, just a tool management. But I don't know. I mean, the market is crazy in the sense every month you evolve the architecture.
True.
So
Exactly.
I don't know what's there in the future, but right now it's heavily focused on tool management.
Okay. And then, so the thing is, because I think when it comes to the tool management, because like when you actually move across those different tools, so I was just again like using like the API gateway analogies, like the tools and then the endpoint, and then deciding what sort of task they can do, and that was like I think, and then beside the cursor, I'm not sure, is there like any specific other, because like as you said, like a cursor is more like a kind of dev tools. But I'm not sure when it comes to the productivity, do we have like such a specific types of kind of chat based, like tools like Nathan, like Make, those are like a kind of workflow orchestration tool. And I think I'm sure like those can use all of these capabilities for the tool management platform like yours. But then any other kind of like UI types of, I think Claude also can connect to similar types of things, right?
Yes. So
Yeah.
as long as you can talk to MCP, in fact, to an extent, you can do REST API as well. We expose all of this through REST API endpoints. If you want to do that, you can do it. But seeing the industry standardizing on MCP, I would say just stick to MCP client. But either way, it is possible. I mean, if you have like something like the OpenAI based UI-driven agentic workflows, or I guess everyone is coming with some agentic frameworks now. N8 and AWS. I think you guys have something as well.
Bedrock, yeah, yeah.
So it doesn't matter what kind of agent tool it is, as long as you can talk to MCP client, talk like an MCP client, then you can leverage any of these tools.
Okay. So another question, I think, like I remember last year, like especially around this time, there was like all these conversation that like next year, 2025, is more like the year of agentic AI. And to be honest, it was clear that's like now that after like 10 months, 11 months passed, we noticed like really 2025 was all about the agentic AI. So now that you are also in the Bay Area, so is there like any specific theme that you see there, like for the next year, and like I'm not sure. I'm sure it's going to be still about the agentic, but then any specific sub, I would say theme.
I think one of the bigger trends I'm seeing is going a little more private with deployments. In the sense, I think you also, I believe, a few months ago you mentioned about SLMs in one of the comments. So what I'm seeing is more of these public-faced LLM providers getting more into it, becoming more enterprising.
Yeah.
For example, if you see OpenAI signing up a deal with Databricks to, there's a lot of these smaller models. So smaller models like Quen and whatnot becoming more powerful. So what you do is you can literally run your end-to-end suite locally. You can have a model, you can have like agent running, and you can deploy this whole thing in the edge. And in fact, one of the things that we are doing in Arcade is we have this hybrid deployment where you can have like control planes centrally deployed in the cloud. You can have like small MCP servers that can run on the on-prem infrastructure. What that means is you can have these micro agents that is heavily focused on privacy. One of the common things that comes in my conversations is Bedrock, for example. Any enterprises, they say. So I think that trend will solidify. And instead of just personal agents using these public keys with the LLMs, I think they'll go more private and they'll become more real, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I think that eventually, like for any of those use cases, I think we should have like a very small large language model or small LLM. It's like, it's a very weird name, but anyway, a small LLMs that even can run on CPU, because like we still, like companies pay a lot for the GPU to just run those LLMs to run the inference, and then that small LLM, which actually just have, I would say, good reasoning capability that can connect to all these tools, and that's why I think. like the more how our brain is working, right? Our brain, the main goal of the brain is to just consume the less energy and do the jobs with all these kind of like skill toolings and everything that we have. And we are actually just biased toward that, right? And I think for
Yes.
the kind of like AI, the artificial intelligence, and then the way that we are moving forward to the agentic one, I think that's our, I think should be the end goal. And I think
Yes.
eventually we should have like such a scenario so that we have a, like an effective small LLM, efficient small LLM that have a good reasoning capability, that understand where to call which tools, instead of just having a bulk, big, large language model that wants to just have all the knowledge, which is
Yep.
it's viable, but then it's not efficient. That's the problem.
I think, that's where one of the related note is you mentioned about multimodality.
Yeah.
I think that also is happening. For example, if you think of all the voice transcriptions, nowadays everyone is just deploying some small, some SLM in the device, and it's amazing. Like Whisper, if you try,
Exactly.
you can whisper it. You whisper and then it transcribes, which is like amazing. Yeah.
And also another thing. So like like one of the key, because I think that is topic that we still don't have like a very solid types of solution, is like around the guardrailing of all these, whatever the agent is doing and whatever the agent is generating. So I think to some extent that the level of control that you are actually putting on the agent access to the tooling. So I think that's kind of like to some extent help, but then it's still in terms of like the putting the guardrail in terms of like how the agent need to respond. I think that's another layer and another component that I think need more attention, and maybe another, I would say, kind of like tools or platform can help in that space.
Yesterday I was doing the same demo to somebody else, and then I forgot to enable the Google Docs tool.
Yeah.
And then what the agent did was it crafted a text file, and then it just attached a text file to the email and they sent it out.
Okay, so look at this.
In some scenarios, it's very helpful, but in some scenarios, you don't want the agent to do things like that. So I think that's where, to your point, guardrails will definitely help.
Exactly, because like, so especially for the ones that you demo, there are like a number of action that the agent did at the same times, and then whether like for that. The thing is how, because like the one part of it is about the reasoning capability that it has to understand what to do for each of those. So there is like that the reasoning part that needs, I would say, more attention, and it's just all these about like trial and error to understand what actually that like that reasoning model look like, and then how you can fine tune it to make sure like for that specific task is actually doing the right thing, and then at the same times to like make the agent and the model to understand, okay, if I don't have access to this specific thing, instead of just doing random things, just request or ask or just provide some context, so that it can just help to better manage all these whole end-to-end workflow.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. And then one last question, I think, because like when we were talking about the agent, that like the majority, as you said, like that we still have like it's more like around the generating the media, whether it's text, images, and all those things. And then at the end of this spectrum, which is the full autonomy, that agent do all those action even without getting any sort of approval from the human or anybody. So in terms of like for these the ones that the tool management kind of like platform that the team is actually focusing on. So doesn't matter the level of autonomy, right? So agent is just access to those tools through the MCP, and then based on the whatever guardrail that they put for the agent, they will do. So we don't have like any middleware here for the platform,
correct,
right?
So the middleware, in a way, traditionally middleware will have these 3 or 4 layers. You have like system APIs that talks to databases, then you have like orchestration, then like a bigger orchestration. I think those are now eaten by agents and the tools. So agent, the simple way to think about this is your MCP client is your agent and your MCP server is your tool management. That's it. There is nothing in between.
Okay. And then, so let's say, like eventually, like let's say your platform is actually providing all the toolings. Can you think of any, like, let's say I want to have like a productivity agent as an example. So if, do you think of, can you think of any other kind of, if all the tools are provided through the MCP, kind of like the URL that they needed to just use it. Any other MCP that you can think of that they need to use it, or do you think eventually, if all the tools can be provided by that one single MCP can be enough?
There are chances that there might be MCP servers hosted elsewhere, but I think I would say still everything will fall into this three bucket. One is native MCP, then custom MCP that you can create and add business logic and whatnot yourself, and then the third is remote MCP. But the gateway will bring everything together still into a single MCP server. And
yeah, because like I think even eventually for like an agent, there should be like one single gateway that to use, and then based on the tooling that is provided to decide what to do next.
Yeah,
perfect. Any other point do you want to mention? Or
no, I think it's amazing, man. I think we should, at least once in every 6 months we should kind of refresh. This is like a it's always nice to have these conversations with
exactly.
Someone who's also going through similar problems and share some notes. And also personally, it's amazing to catch up with you again. And it's, I think, how much ever the market evolves and how much ever crazy changes happen, but I feel now we have settled on few things, like agent tooling, models obviously, and multimodality is the end goal.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any crazy changes on that front. So I think now we can start helping people to kind of do some real stuff within this space. I think that's probably what I'm looking forward to, like at least next couple of years.
Okay. And to be honest, what is your prediction for like next 5 years? So I can share mine, but then so the thing is, what I'm saying, man, I think that the world need to go to another stage, because with all these kind of momentum that we get in terms of like the technology and bringing all those things that can help to just I would say replace a lot of I would say jobs, or even like the things that we are doing. So I think we need a new world. Otherwise, it's not. I would say this version with that level of technology, I think it's not sustainable. And there should be like some that's my, I would say, prediction.
I would say, instead of my prediction, I'll tell you my desire. You tell me whether it's possible or not. See, my desire is, I'm not able to connect this with AI yet, but my biggest problem today, which no one has solved yet, is travel. So, if let's say if my parent, living far away from here, like, I have to catch like a 24-hour flight to go see them and come back. What I want really is, let's say if you are having a ceremony or a function or a party in your house, I just want to catch a flight that reaches like in 30 minutes. I attend your party and I come back home and I go for my, school pickup duty for my daughter. And if that is simplified, I feel the world will be a very different place. But I don't know. Maybe the multimodality will solve this for us. I don't know.
I think the level of let's say 100 years ago, 200 years ago. So like the momentum in terms of technology, all those things is very, very slow, right? And then one by one, we just have like different, I would say, generation of like the industry kind of industry 1, 2 now. And then now with all these AI capabilities, so there are like two key, I would say, themes that I see that actually I think can help to just solve majority of the problem that we have. I even like yours that you're mentioning. One is actually just that the level of knowledge that can be used, and also in terms of like designing any types of solution, like that can help to those scientists, those people who are actually focusing on this space, to do like to accelerate their design and their research and all those things, and identify new types of approaches to solve any problem, right? That's one aspect that I see, like for the majority of the problems, we'll soon have like a kind of solution, and even like an efficient solution to address that. And then the second aspect is all about like the things that we are doing right now. Like, for instance, as an example, it used to, for me, like, it used to take like nearly a month for me to just prepare a presentation with the quality that I was expecting. Right now is just less than 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And you can imagine for all these kind of like other task activities that everyone, like whether professional or even like slowly, like those handymans are like most of their tasks and activities can be replaced, right? And that's the reason with all these kind of the second theme that I'm saying, that's the reason I'm saying like the world needs to have like a kind of new way of thinking about all these things that matter for people, like whether jobs, money, all those things. That's I think that the areas that I'm thinking that they need. Otherwise, with this more, let's say in next 5 years or 10 years, people need just maybe to work one day, right?
Yep.
And then, or even like some people, they may not have jobs because with all this kind of like all this like technology, a lot of those can be replaced. So then, whatever the award system for all the people need to be changed. Otherwise, you cannot sustain this society and this world. And that's the area that I'm thinking that we need the new way of thinking of how we are actually just what matters for the people.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree with you. I think part of the problem is literacy, in the sense many people, if like the demo that we saw today, if a common man can understand the possibility, I feel they themselves will start doing something else and reskill themselves.
To be honest, I learned a lot. Although that I'm in a very space, I learned a lot in this, so you can imagine.
Yeah, so I think they themselves will get excited and figure out something. But yeah, you're right. I think sustainability is something that's very important, so that it all affects real people's life. So yeah.
Awesome. Perfect, man. So I think, we need to just, let's just usually like use LinkedIn to chat, but then, let's find another time soon. Like to just
do like
discuss.
a talk series,
Exactly.
And do this regularly. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks, Guru. Thanks for your time.
Hey, thanks, man. Thank you, Sam.
Always. Chat soon.
Bye.
Bye.